are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Salem Media of Hawaii.
Aloha and welcome to Be Fit for Health. This is Bianca, your host. It's another great day to celebrate our health and wellness, and I am really excited about my guest that's coming on today's show. He is a fellow healing patient, guru, knowledgeable person because he's gone through a life that has thrown him a curveball when it comes to some pain in his body, and not just some pain, but he also had some back issues where he had ended up doing some surgeries, which he'll get into detail later on the show. But what that has done for him, like it's done for me with having fibromyalgia, is set him on a journey which has been very, very exciting and interesting. Just constant learning about the human body and its ability to do so much. And at the same time, exposing us to seeing how fragile we are and how quick we are to breaking down if we don't give the necessary things that it needs to heal and become whole. And, y'all heard of me talking this whole year. I just sounded like a country folk. You guys have heard me all year talking about, my fibromyalgia and the constant pain that I'm in. I mean, the last show that I did while I was interviewing, my body decided to cramp up on me. I didn't show it, but it wasn't the most comfortable experience I had. And the causes of those, I'm not really quite clear. And, these are things that we have to go through to, investigate ourselves because, Google isn't going to be enough, obviously, but you have to ask the right people, right? And ask the right questions is just as important to finding the right people. And, my next guest has gone through that journey as I have. And he has his side of experience, and we'll get to hear all that. And when it comes to understanding what pain is like, I mean, my next guest is an expert. I mean, the poor guy has gone through a lot. His name is Hans Bruce, and I've known him for a while. He's been a traveler. He's traveled the world. He's met a lot of interesting people and has gained a lot of knowledge when it comes to the body. He's been an entrepreneur since he was 5 years old. I'm really curious to see what kind of business he had at 5 years old because I was just telling my producer, I can relate because at the age of 8, I was doing things that, to make money, my own money, so that I can buy things for my family without having to ask them for a dime. But, that's pretty interesting because that tells me what kind of a person he is, someone who's a go-getter and full of life and passion. He's now taken his journey and his mishaps and things that are going on with him and turned it into a business. When I say business, I think he's turning it into a place where people can go to get information when it comes to how do you make my body whole and how do you make it so that I'm not in pain. And God bless you, Hans, for doing that. Are you on?
I am on.
Awesome.
Aloha.
Aloha. So you and I met like eons ago. Here, I think, in Hawaii. And it's funny, you're in California now, where I used to live. So you and I have similar journeys. I mean, it's like almost we're parallel, but you have your path and I have my path, and we're going down that road of discovery. So tell me a little bit about where this began for you, because I really want people to understand who you are and what you've done and what happened to you for you to take your journey this way.
Thank you, Bianca, and thank you for having me on. And hello to all the listeners. Hello. Thanks for being here.
They're waving back at you, I promise.
Being interested in hearing what we have to say. I appreciate you inviting me on and giving me the chance to share a little bit about my journey. Oh, it's been a long one. My. But like what you talked about, the only thing I would say is, I'm not, this poor guy's been in so much pain. I don't see myself as a poor guy. I feel like everyone has gone through a lot. If you just ask questions and ask people, everyone has this story of suffering in some way. And I don't really feel like I'm particularly have a special suffering story. I'll just lead with that. Although my mindset used to be very much, victim mentality.
Right.
That I used to feel that way, like poor guy, poor me, poor Hans. So I guess I've come a long way on my journey in that sense, looking back. But yeah, the chronic pain started when I was very young, 16 years old, when I broke my back
Oof.
in a boxing match.
Wow.
Where I was body slammed on the cement. It's like paralyzed for a few seconds. It seemed like a long time. I thought I was ruined. And within 24 hours, all the doctors had me on narcotics. Vicodin was the beginning. And it turned into a 5-year opiate journey.
Oh, jeez.
Being on, Vicodin and Percocet, and then stacking on OxyContin. And I became an opiate addict. My life became about the pills because that was the only thing that was making me feel better. There's
Right.
this euphoria to that. And basically, it was starting to kill me. And I saw someone in front of my eyes die.
Oh,
on
wow.
Opiate overdose. And I was just like, what is this stuff? And doctors just told me I'd always be in pain, so this is the way to be comfortable. I tried some of their therapies, but nothing really worked. They didn't have many options. And so did an experimental spine surgery at the time. I was 21 years old. I thought, okay, let's do the spine surgery where they removed 2 of the discs that were broken in my back and re-engineered my spine with artificial titanium discs, artificial disc replacement surgery. I'm like, okay, I'll get that. That'll fix me.
You'll be back to normal,
get
right?
off the pills.
Right.
Yeah, and get off the pills because my digestive system was shutting down. My liver was having problems. All my organs were having problems, and my brain was just, I was like a zombie. But it failed. The spine surgery failed. I actually had a slightly worse pain after.
Oh.
This is a horrible place to be. And I just had to make a choice whether to die slowly, comfortably, or kick the addiction and try another way, find another way. And the rest is history,
That's crazy.
12 years in the making.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you went through at such a young age, though. I mean, you got to give yourself a break, right? I mean, most people don't know that when you're that young, you don't have life experience to have a more positive attitude about things like being more proactive. You're kind of stuck, in that mindset of this is it. This is how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. And that you and I talked about briefly yesterday was that the way you think about things can change your outcome. And it's taken you, it wasn't overnight. It's taken you years to get to a place where you now are like proactive with your well-being. That's
Correct.
That's normal.
Correct. Yeah. That was 2008 when the spine surgery failed, and I just decided, I'm going to kick the opiate addiction. That was the hardest thing I did.
So how did you do that?
And I basically created a self-created rehab detox where I put myself in a situation with a close friend far away from kind of in nature, and I dumped the rest of my pills and bottles of pills in the trash can before we left. And I did that because I was trying to wane off after the surgery. I'm like, okay, I'll just wane off and figure it out. I'd throw away my pills. I would literally be digging in the trash cans. I'm like, whoa, I'm really, something's so wrong here. And I'm like, I guess I have extreme personality, so I thought, maybe I just need to use my extreme approach to things as a way to fight fire with fire. And I'm
Right.
like, I guess I need to go cold turkey. I don't know what's going to happen, but
Yeah, I would suggest to do that.
yeah, it was pretty hard. It was puking and nausea. Literally feel like, just the crawling on your, feels like there's just bugs crawling on your skin and your bones, and I literally,
Well, that's
it was so
a
horrible.
reaction, right? Because it's a chemical reaction. You basically just went from one chemical, model to another chemical model. So your body's trying to adjust, and with me having a nerve problem, and you having the surgery and having that nerve problem afterwards, because your body's still trying to settle. That's why they give us all those drugs, because what they're trying to do is numb you down enough so that while your body's settling, it's blocking that pain so that your body can actually heal itself from the inflammation and things like that. But the problem with these drugs is that if you have an addictive personality, or not personality, but genetics, your body will want that more and more. There are some people that may not get addicted to it, and that's just the way it is. But it's hard once your body's addicted to it. Now it becomes something different in your system, and it's like almost like being a part of your body, and then you're trying to do surgery and take it out. It won't come out that easily. So you did cold
Correct,
turkey.
yeah.
That's like, oh my God. you got strength. Let me tell you.
It was hard. It was really hard. Like 12 a.m. to about 5 a.m. every night was just sleepless, restless, and just tingling. My body felt like it was on fire from a sensational point of view. If you ever had your finger over a fire, just my whole body, and
I've had that.
yeah, it was hard. It was so hard. But after like the 5th or 6th day, this calm came upon me, and the withdrawals and the thinking of my theory was, obviously in my brain chemically, there's been this association of opiates equals pleasure.
Yeah.
And my theory was, if I allow myself to experience what these toxins have done to my body and like what has happened here, then maybe I can flip that neuroassociation. And sure enough, that week was such hell.
Yeah.
After that, something happened with the neuro. It was like opiates equals pain, suffering, horror, nausea, vomiting. And I never had a relapse or an urge since that week.
Wow, that's great. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, but it's rough. I don't necessarily recommend it. I've written a book about how I've overcome opiate addiction. I'm updating it this year, since I've learned a lot since 2008. It's more of like a memoir.
What's it called?
Someone wants to try it that way. It was originally called like Overcoming Opiate Addiction, something like this. But I'm coming up with a new title. Added a lot of chapters, a lot of stuff that I didn't know at the time, and now that I know, I'm like, wow, I got to add a lot more into it. And I have like 6 working titles. I'll let you know when.
Okay.
It's done.
Yep. Let's do a competition and have someone pick it out for you. That would be good. Give us 3 choices, top 3. Yeah, I'm telling you, put it on social media and say top 3 choices. The winner gets the person that picks the name gets a free book, or something like that. That'd be good.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
That's a good idea, right? So you're off the meds, and it's been a couple of years, let's say 5 or 6 years since you've had this incident happen to you. Now your journey begins with finding that natural, holistic, maybe some modern, some old school medicine type of therapies. What was your journey like at that point so that you can take us through it? Because I'm sure people are going to want to know. There are a lot of people that have had lower back surgeries, a lot of people. And a lot of people have titanium in their bodies and they're still struggling and they're still doing therapies, but they're not getting that result, some of the results that you may have gotten. What have you done? Take us step by step through that.
So I came back from San Luis Obispo with one of my best buds. I come back from this, cathartic cleansing of this stuff out of my mind. I'm like, okay, that's great. I don't want pills, but I'm in a lot of pain. And so I come back to Orange County where I was recovering from the surgery with my grandparents, my wonderful, my Omi and Opie, who immigrated from Germany. And, my Omi had watched me suffer, like, right after the surgery. I was, like, bedridden for a long time. She saw I was dealing with this opiates thing. And she just, as soon as I got back, she hands me this book called The Miracle of Fasting by Paul Brack. Have you heard of that?
Yes, yes.
Read that?
Mm-hmm. I'm a big fasting person, so I love that stuff. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, that was the beginning. Because I had always thought that, like, the words holistic medicine, alternative therapy, I always thought that was quackery. Because my mom is a lifelong nurse. Every time I've had an issue medically, you go to the doctors know what they're talking about, and everything else is BS. And I look at this book and I'm just like, what? The Miracle of Fasting? I was like, okay, I'll give it a read. And I'm like, all right, weird. They're talking about nutrition and how food can affect your body. I thought food was for flavor. You know what I mean? I was just like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was going to do. It was such a disaster. And she hands me this book. I'm like, okay, wow. I'm going to try my first 24-hour fast because I need to do something.
Yeah.
And he said something like in the book, like, if you do fasting or this, it heals diseases and it can help with inflammation. Like, there was key words in there that seemed relevant to my situation. So, and I grew up in a family, the foodies, and if you're a few hours past, lunch or dinner, like my brother, my siblings, we'd be like, we're dying, we're starving to death. So this was very crazy for me to try.
It's foreign, yeah.
But I felt something different in my body and my mind after that first 24-hour fast. Because I didn't know that was possible for me. And so that's where the journey began into actually believing there's something to my body being able to heal myself. I didn't really have those words at the time.
Right.
But I felt a little better mentally.
Right.
The pain, I just felt a slight difference, something through that first experience. And that's what triggered my curiosity to start reading more books about, all these other, holistic medicine, alternative therapy, all these things.
Yeah.
And I've been fasting ever since. There's been probably in the past 12 years, because that was 2008, or 13 years now. Some years where I won't fast, but I've generally over the past 13 years, that has been a very significant force in my life, because there's something around the personal empowerment there.
Yep.
To know that your body can sustain itself without 3 meals or 5 meals a day.
Right.
There's something there that was feeding into challenging my a very depressed brain at the time. And I was like, wow, there's almost that little euphoria that I was getting from that opiates.
Yep.
And
that's amazing.
So then I'm like, I want to do a 3-day. And then over the past, 13 years, I've done a few times where up to 10 days.
Right.
And
Can do.
Yeah. So my curiosity led me on this journey over the past 13 years of trying all kinds of things, from hyperbaric oxygen therapy
Nice.
to, cold level 4 laser on my back
What's that?
to it's a therapy that it's like a light. It's called a cold laser. It's basically a powerful laser that they shine or point and direct onto the place of pain in your body, and it's supposed to have the effect of healing the tissue or scar tissue, like breaking it up, helping it like heal. It I felt a little relief. In all these things, it's been trial and error. It's a little bit of relief, but not significant enough
Right.
to pay out of pocket, because that's the other problem, is all these things are
Yes.
out of pocket.
Yeah,
None of this stuff is covered.
Yeah, no insurance covers these alternative types of modalities because there's no proof because it hasn't gone through the channels of FDA or what have you. But isn't it crazy though? Because what you just a little bit that you just mentioned has such huge merit that every single doctor that was Western that's turned into integrative or functional says the same thing to me and to others, especially if you go into YouTube and find these particular doctors. They all say that the body can heal itself. It just needs, and you and I were talking about this, I was using the word coding. If you give it the right code and the right information, the body will understand that language and then go, oh, this is the way we're supposed to go. We've been going the wrong direction this whole time. No wonder we're so tired and not able to make it up that hill, type of thing. Let's go downhill. We might be able to get there faster, type of thing. So it's not that simple, but like you were saying, every little thing you did made a difference a little bit. And
yes,
but you can't just do one thing. You have to do, and I'm sure you're going to give me some more of your list, a whole slew of things almost at the same time, just to kind of get a bit more of a relief that you're looking for. It takes time for your body to heal. It's not going to heal overnight. You've screwed it up for 20 plus years or 40 or 50 plus years. It's not going to heal in one night. It's going to take a long time.
Exactly. And, we've kind of been conditioned to seek the quick fixes. And this is now, in hindsight, anyone who's listening who maybe you have a recent injury and you're just starting this journey, you tried pharmaceuticals, they didn't work, or you don't want to try them, whatever, you don't want to do surgery, you're just starting. Oh, it was so frustrating because I was so conditioned for the quick fix that, I thought, I didn't think I would still be in pain, and I'm not 100% healed. The past 12 months, I've made extraordinary progress, which we'll get into why. But the patience game pays off, and some people will heal faster than others. And like you said, you only will know depending on by trying the different coding, which is, your body is going to respond different to a therapy than my body is.
Yeah.
Because I have a different DNA, and depending on that coding of whatever that therapy is, it might vibe, might not. Generally, I think every single thing, like you touched upon, actually has helped. It actually has contributed. For example, a year and a half, 2 or 3 times a week, the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, I feel like really flushed deep on a cellular level.
Right.
My body with oxygen, that medical grade oxygen that's pressurized, and those molecules get into smaller spaces. I feel like that was really bringing me back to life because I was pretty burned out by then. I had probably 6 months before that or so, I had my second attempted suicide moment. Because along this journey, I would lose hope.
Yeah.
I'm invested a lot of money in the cold laser therapy, for example, and the return wasn't
huge, or
significant,
small.
then you
Yeah.
just lose hope.
Yeah.
And it's like I want it quick, I want it done. And what's interesting though is, I can now see that if I didn't have that dark moment and lose hope, I wouldn't have moved back from California, Hawaii to California, where I met a doctor who heard my story and wanted to work out a financial agreement that I could make happen. And when I've gotten that oxygen therapy, and I feel like that really
Yeah.
set the stage
That was
for
your
my
turning
healing.
point. Yeah.
For the rest of the therapies you can't. I've really emotionally and spiritually evolved.
Yeah.
By just hanging in there.
Yeah.
And it's really hard sometimes when you lose hope.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm finding myself very happy and proud of myself, and on a physical, emotional standpoint, I've made a lot of progress this past year. And even in the chaos of the current, political, social, global, economic situation, I feel like I've been relatively centered and okay, because it's like I've been dealing with personal crisis for so long that if you survive this long, you're a survivor, Bianca. You know what I'm talking about. You kind of build this resilience.
Yeah, you do.
And so anyone out there, if you're starting this, you have an issue, an injury, something, you are going to become mentally stronger, emotionally stronger, more spiritually stronger than you ever would have otherwise become.
Right. And that's a part of the journey, right? We're here on earth to learn and to grow. And sometimes our lessons are very difficult. And some of the lessons that are given to us through the school of life is pain. And pain can come in different forms. And that triggers you to either excel or to wither away. And it's your choice. It's a choice you have to make. Mm-hmm. And you got to that point where you thought about suicide. And I got to that point when I was in California where I couldn't deal with the pain anymore. And it was one of those things where you sit there by yourself, thinking about, I can't take it anymore. What else can I do? There's nothing else I can. And you get into that victimization for a small second. And then I got mad. I'm sure you did too. Like, I'm done. Enough of this. Let's figure this out. And that point is where everyone needs to get to, where if they're struggling like we did, okay, I need to take ownership. Enough of these doctors telling me I can't. Enough of these people telling me that I'm going to be like this forever. Screw them. I'm not. I'm going to take ownership and empower myself. And that's where our journeys took hold and became important. And this is why this show is here for everyone to tune into, is because of the journey that I went through. That's why you have your podcast, because of the journey you went through. You and I are both the same. We really truly see suffering, and because we've gone through it, and we want to help others not go through it. We want to give them a little bit more of a easier path if we can, through the information that we share to others. And that's really, truly my core purpose of having the show, besides selfishly wanting to learn more, and having people like you on and getting bits and pieces of other types of therapies that are out there for people like us to try. But, it's so encouraging to hear someone that's gone through something and still be here talking about it in a way that's so positive and so encouraging for others to keep going. So God bless you on that.
Well, thank you. Well, God bless you too. I think I think it's very useful I think conversations, I try to make content where I'm just talking, but I think the juiciest content or information, education we can really share is conversations like this. I love hearing your story, Bianca, and something that you said that's so interesting is when you're in the dark place, the depression or the moment of hopelessness, the pivot, I think the way out, one of the first steps is going into being mad, anger.
Yeah.
I feel like is a good way to help pull out of that. it could be useful because my doctors told me I will always be in pain. My doctors told me you should stop having the other doctor, because they're like a medical team, is like you should be careful about keeping up hope that you're going to be out of pain. And I look back on that, and right now I'm starting to feel a little angry. I'm like, I just want to go back to those doctors.
Don't turn into the Hulk, okay?
I just want to go back and say, you know what? That you did so much injustice to a 16, 17, 8-year-old to say that to me. F you.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I come back, and what I've learned is they only know what they were trained to learn about.
Right.
And they might not be spiritually evolved to, well, I'm so
they just don't have the
evolved,
time, Hans, to think about beyond what they're seeing, because they have a practice that they have to focus on, and they have 15 minutes with each patient. I mean, how much time does it give them to really sit down and look at your potential?
Yeah. I think, it's, I love this moment you're talking about, because I think where people really get lost on how do I fix myself, or how can I heal, or how can I get better, especially if they've been struggling for a while. It's kind of discouraging in a way, and I really want to acknowledge this to anyone who's listening and is kind of maybe has some hopelessness and frustration, is when you hear people like, oh, they went into remission, or they healed and they're better now. Like, I started getting almost like mad at that. Like, why not me?
Right.
How come I'm not getting better?
Right.
And the doctors got me this way, and the surgeon messed up, and then it just goes into this victim thing, and it's the thing is that anger is all these people and all these things. Maybe they tried their best, they did what they could, and they're saying what they think is possible for me, and the anger starts to become, okay, thank you everybody, but now I need to become my own doctor.
Right.
I need to be the lead doctor in the medical team and all the therapies. And it's that kind of realization that they're not the authority. They're not the end of the,
end of the story. They're not the end of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, pairing up what would also, help me come out of that moment, which is so important, is finding a big why, like a big reason, is what I talked in the opiate addiction book. Like, what helped me get out is, having a reason to live that's you just create. You just have to come up with it. You have to come up with it to help pull you forward. Like, why heal? And the visualizing of that future Hans, that future Bianca, that future you, healed, what would you be doing?
Oh yeah,
and what does it feel like?
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an important thing, and
it is.
I don't poo-poo all the doctors. Most not. You bring up integrated there's a time for it.
Right.
For example, I forgot what it was like to not be in pain.
Right.
About 2 or 3 years ago, and I did an epidural shot, which I hadn't done. They gave me epidural shots in the spine when I was like 16 and 17, which didn't really help. But I went to kind of Western medicine to get a temporary fix, because I didn't remember what it was like to not be in pain. Like, literally, I didn't remember.
No, I can relate. What is that? Right.
And so I did that to just like try to remember, and because that's the feeling when you're out of pain, even though that epidural only lasted like a week, and then it had a kind of a reverse reaction that helped me reconnect with what it feels like. So when I visualize, I can know what that emotional, physical state is that I want to get to, because healing is a lot of work. I call it your health work ethic. Yeah. It has to be big.
These are great phrases that you're coming up with. I mean, I mean, I know that you have your business name is the Healing Games. I mean, these are great phrases, by the way. I mean, so if there's anything that you can even get out there in bumper stickers or T-shirts, put them on T-shirts or something, or hats, because we need these warriors out there. We need warriors out there to help remind us that we need to take charge of our own lives. We need to be empowered. And through that is education. It really is. You can't expect to have other people take care of your problems. You need to learn about your own problems and surround yourself around smart people that can say, hey, what about, for example, my brother recently was doing some research, and he said, what about B1 vitamin, Bianca? I think you're deficient in B1. And I looked it up, and it works with nerves, right? I mean, most B vitamins do work with your nervous system, but there's also deficiencies of other B vitamins that we may not be focused on because B12 is the most popular, right. Maybe niacin, which is a big deal because it's a part of your Krebs cycle. But it's something that I always tell people is that something as simple as because going back to your original statement of nutrition, something as simple as your nutrition being on point may take you to a place where you're maybe 25% better initially. And that 25% might make you healthy enough to be able to endure your whole day and deal with the rest of the stuff that's coming at you. Right?
100%.
Yeah. So
100%.
I want to take a quick break, Hans. Can you hang on for like 15 seconds? And
absolutely.
And when we come back, I really want to dive into
Fit for Health online personal training and nutrition program. With 30 years of personal training experience, Bianca will help you better yourself and be fit for health. For more information or to schedule a free wellness consultation, visit befit4health.com for more.
And we're back. We're back with Hans Bruce. And we're back. We're talking about
Hans and Bianca.
Yeah. You're so I know exactly. Hey, listen, man, we're on track with things when it comes to some information for our bodies, and your body is dealing with nerve problems as well as I'm dealing with nerve problems. But when you were talking about your skin being on fire, I've been dealing with that all week. This week, my skin has been feeling like I've got a burn, like a sunburn. And it's just my nerves firing up because I've been doing some chiropractic work and I'm bringing on another guest this week to do an interview with, and he does a massage therapy, which is called it sounds like your name, but it's a German technique. And he's been working on me, and it's because of those two modalities. What happens is you've got toxins get released into your system. You've got your nerves readjusting because you just had an adjustment with a chiropractor. So your body is going, oh, I've been impinged for about a year and now I'm being freed. Things kind of flare up, right? That feeling is the worst feeling. The sunburn feeling and I'm white. I'm in Hawaii and I'm white. I have white skin and it's the weirdest thing in the world. But, so what do you do when you have a flare up? Like, how do you control it so that it goes back to being normalized again? What's some of the techniques you do? What's vitamin supplements? What?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. It's interesting you asked that because I literally, I have flare-ups like maybe once a month. Despite how much progress I've made, I'll have a flare-up where it is, and it always triggers the depression too. If the pain is really bad, I suddenly go dark, I go down because I'm like, wow, I've been on this journey so long.
Right.
And I just feel like I haven't gotten anywhere. And maybe I exaggerate it in my mind. And it's really discouraging. And that just happened to me this morning. So this is interesting that we're talking because I'm telling you the stuff that I'll tell you that I did. Like my go-to when it's really bad, it got my back pain flare up where it was like at about a 7 or 8.
Oh yeah, that's bad.
Where it was hard to walk.
Yeah.
It was hard to move. It was hard to think. It kind of, when the pain, when it's a flare up and anyone out there is listening, it hijacks your thoughts.
It does.
You can't even focus. It's so bad. And so I'll just tell you exactly what I did. So I'm having this back pain flare up, and the first thing I did is I literally looked in the mirror and I was like, Hans, it's okay.
Yeah.
Hans, just play the healing games. So, so the reason I call it the healing games is like I've really I've come to understand the suffering and the pain and like how to cope with it in a way that makes it fun by playing quote healing games, which are
Right.
just anything I can do to find that could help myself. Okay, so it's starting with looking in the mirror and saying it's okay.
Right.
Because if I'm not saying it's okay, then I'm in stress, I'm in anxiety, and I'll start having thoughts that this back pain flare-up is going to go on for a long time. It's okay, and just play the healing games. Like, just do the work, do the things that have gotten me out of back pain flare-ups every time, and trust it's going to work again today.
Yep.
That's number one.
Yep.
And number two was drinking like a half a gallon of water. Because,
Okay.
you know, water is the one universal solvent that exists. It's the oil for our engine. It's the lubrication of our veins and everything, right?
And your
And I'm
fascia.
just like drinking,
Yep.
drinking water. And then I went onto my yoga mat area, and I have a sequence of stretches that I have found that is extremely pertinent to my lumbar chronic back pain issue that I've learned. And, you know, it's like a mix of Pilates, yoga stretches, movement, and core strengthening.
Right.
So I did a sequence of that for about a half an hour.
Okay.
And while I'm doing it, I'm starting to do the Wim Hof kind of breathing
Right.
technique as I'm doing this, getting prepped in my mind for a super, super hot shower, like scalding hot.
I love those.
So I go into that and get it to the point where I can barely take it anymore, and then walk 10 feet out to the front where I have built an ice bath, and I have the ice bath with 12 pounds of Epsom salt in it. So now we're mixing, people don't talk about this, but, you know, hot Epsom salt baths, people do that, and I'll do
Right.
that sometimes. But I'm mixing the Epsom salt with the ice bath.
Makes sense.
And so I pop into there, and so it's going to extreme hot to that ice cold, and now, like, I'm really getting into the Wim Hof breathing, and I'm really getting into the visualizing of my body feeling good soon, like we talked about, that trusting it will.
Yeah.
Because if I'm thinking any other thoughts, again, I'm inhibiting my body's potential
Right.
to heal in this moment. Like I need to heal this hour because I'm going to lose the day
Yeah.
again. And so I've mixed in, you know, the Wim Hof breathing and then like holding the breath and the ice. You know, I don't recommend everyone just trying this, but I'm just telling you what I do,
Right.
what I've learned to do. And then I come out of that and I go into another scalding hot shower. And then I walk outside into nature. So we'll go kind of a little far walk till I finally get to the end of the neighborhood. And now I'm just like focusing on asking myself, what am I grateful for?
Right.
What am I proud of in my life right now? What am I most excited about? So, you know, and literally I'm got my shoes off, really into just feet, bare feet on the earth and the grass. And all of a sudden, I am recognizing that spike and that pain flare up is 70 to 80% gone.
Yeah.
And I'm still blown away by this. My back pain flare ups usually last 2 to 3 days.
Right.
And I was just telling my buddy, I called him, I was going to Costco. He's like, we're roomies here, and he knew I had a bad back pain flare up. I was like, dude, I got it down after like spending, 2 or 3 hours playing healing games. I got it down almost like 70%. And the depression is gone because I'm so proud of myself for figuring out how to heal myself.
Empowered,
and
right?
So now the euphoria, and it's all, it's so, that's why I feel good to even have this phone call today.
Yeah. Yeah, your voice, when you first started, I could tell something was up. And I know that voice, that tone, because I get that tone a lot too when I'm not feeling well. And like you, I don't do, the audience knows, I don't do narcotics. I don't take anything for my pain. If I take a Tylenol, a 200 milligram Tylenol, that means it's really bad. So, I've done my bit. I mean, I don't do the Wim Hof, and most people don't know what that is, but that's look it up, guys. You can go on YouTube and look him up. His WIM, right? Huff, HUFF. It's a technique of breathing. It's like a fast-paced breathing of like 30 breaths, but there's a certain type of a hold and release to his breathing. And then I've tried that. I get a little dizzy, but it's a technique you have to learn to do. It's a practice that you have to do. And my brother my brother's like my biggest support system. He keeps telling me, maybe you should look into the Wim Hof breathing, Bianca. I'm like, yeah, I know I did that, but I'll get a little dizzy. But you're now supporting that by saying it again. So this is, when you hear something twice or 3 times from different people that don't know each other, there's God's way of saying, listen to this. So I'm getting the message. So thanks, Hans. And then the ice bath thing. I mean, if you don't have a bath, you can do a cold shower. You can do like a hot shower and then turn the knob to the cold shower part and then do that. But what's the timing though? What is your timing of the hot and the cold?
Yeah. So the timing is, typically, because I used to do, in the past year, when I really had the turnaround of making more significant progress, I was doing an ice bath like every day for 2 months. Because I had another suicidal kind of mindset event about a year ago or so. And I, was searching for things. I kind of gave up. I was like, I better go back on opiates again because I don't trust my mindset, and so, but if you don't have a nice bath or whatever, the cold shower, the timing I'll be in the hot for that 30 breaths or just doing a lot of oxygen. I'm standing, I'm kind of moving my legs, kind of doing hip circles, loosening up my body for at least, say, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I start to hold the breath thing, the 1 minute, as I turn it to pure cold. So now I'm holding my breath for a minute in the cold. And then after you hold your breath for a minute, you breathe in and then hold it for 30 seconds. And then I end on it all being cold. So that's like a little, combination where I'm pulling from like a few different people's things. That's part Wim Hof, part me just trying
different
my own innovation on it. And I do that every single morning. And that, because I wake up usually with pain, it's usually when I wake up the worst right when I wake up.
Right, because you haven't moved for 8 hours.
So I typically, right when I wake up, I'm drinking tons of water, and I go straight into the shower, and I do that sequence I just told you. I come out, and then I walk into nature, do the gratitude questions and some of the yoga, Pilates, stretching. That's I have to do that minimally. It's a lot of time. I just have to. I have to do it. Like that's. When I visit my mom in Vegas, or I go over here, or I stay at someone's house, or I'm in Spain, or I'm in Iceland, or wherever I am, with whoever I am, I still do that.
Yeah. You have to.
First thing. And it's honestly, it sucks. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything for anyone listening. It's a lot of time and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I feel like somehow the mindset around it being fun, the sense of like, okay, I'm playing healing games, is like the verbiage, the linguistics that I started to develop over the last year, that's turned myself starting to like it.
Right.
Where it used to suck and started to be burned out by putting this work in every day. I'm trying to bring fun into healing,
Mm-hmm.
to bring the playfulness to finding your way out of suffering.
Yeah. And discovering how
Because
your body
otherwise,
responds to it too. I mean, I'm sure every time you do it, you come up with something new, like something different happens to you. Or you feel like, oh, wow, my body responded quicker this time around. What did I do different this past month that my body seems to be stronger, more resilient? Because I remember watching one of your videos on Facebook, and your comment was, one of your comments that stuck in my head was, oh my gosh, my nerves must be getting stronger, that it's able to deal with this type of stress, which it wasn't be able to before I started doing this cold plunge stuff.
Totally.
So because of you, I started doing cold, which I hate. because I'm thinking, if I can strengthen the response of the nerves in my spine, because I usually stand with the cold water hitting my spine, nowhere else, just my spine. I feel like then the flare-ups that I have will be not as intrusive, like the heat that I have, like the sunburn feeling that I have on my skin or whatever, what have you. But it all starts with baby steps. But I think you've influenced even someone like me, which you may have not even thought that you were when you were doing this video in a way. But that statement was so huge to people who have nerve pain. When you said this strengthened my nerves, I was like, really? Because I guess I didn't stick with it long enough. Maybe I need to do it for longer. So that's huge.
Yeah,
Hans.
I mean, literally, I feel like my entire nervous system got stronger because I was the kid that would stand by the sink waiting for the shower to get hot before I could even go in.
That's me too. Yeah.
I'm the kid that would go in the ocean and be able to last a few minutes before I started shivering. I would need a wetsuit. And I still am very sensitive to cold. And it's not like, oh, I'm so stoked doing a cold shower.
No, who likes that?
It's sometimes it's like, I don't want to do that stuff, but I like how I feel after doing it for the rest of the day or whatever.
So we come to the part of the show where it ends. Unfortunately, we have so much to talk about, but I'd love to bring you back on at some point again in the near future. Sure. And so that, I'm sure the audience is able to relate to you and me about certain things and learning about your 8 techniques that you do when you have a flare-up is crucial because doctors and practitioners don't really teach you all of this different goodies at once because they may not have discovered some of the things you've discovered. So this is really valuable information. And I'll put it on my YouTube. When I make the video goes on my YouTube, I'll put the some of the things that you do as recommendations, but not for everybody. So God bless you, Hans. Sure. I'm looking forward to our future conversations. You're awesome, man.
God bless you, Bianca. Thank you for having me on, and keep doing what you're doing. And I just really appreciate this, Bianca. And I am inspired by you, so thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you. You have a good rest of your day now, okay?
All right. Talk soon.
Aloha. All right, everyone. That was a great show. Thanks for tuning in. We are done for today, but next week we'll have another great show for you. So tune in Sunday at 10 a.m. I look forward to it. Take care of each other, yourself, and aloha.